do people in Canada have cable, like other people?
We keep this up in the playoffs. I don't care.
And at Chili's. Is it a Chili's? At Kyle's?
Achilles.
Finally.
You don't know that?
Fuck you! Get this guy the fuck out of here!
Alright, well, coming in at number 5, I got Anthony Stolars.
Now! Jets are winning the cup! Wow, that was a crazy goal.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to yet again another episode of the NordCast. It is episode number 69. Nice. It is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. I am your host here at Nord97, joined with Kata, and it's back to school time for the NordCast crew. We'll get to Jack here in a little bit, who's in a different setup. But Carter, how we doing?
Not good. I hate school. Kids, don't go to school. Make the NHL. Make me proud.
Do you have people parking in your parking spot, though? That's what I
No, but I got to pay a ton for my parking.
Oh, yeah, because you live off campus, right?
Well, actually, I don't pay a dime. Father pays it. Shout out, Dad.
Shout out, Neil Rochelle. Yeah, I mean, whenever I would, like, the last couple of days, like, we had our first days of senior year of high school for me, and every single time I've gone, this bitch is parked in my spot. And, like, we have these assigned numbers. I have 307, and this person has the same number as me, 307. Like, how do you manage that? And, like, I kept going to the school every single day. I'm like, yo, I literally leave here at 12 p.m. every single day. What is it with this parking spot not getting fixed? And they're like, oh, we're getting to it. Oh, you know, it's the first week. It's so stupid. Fresh out of his college dorm or wherever the hell he is in Illinois University. I said Indiana in the last episode. Illinois State. Jack, how we doing today?
Doing good.
How's college, man? You're living on campus in your own dorm. Is it going good?
Yeah, college has been fun so far. Dorm's been good. So you guys saw the setup. But yeah, it's been a fun 2 weeks so far. What kind
of classes are you taking?
So I have 5 right now. I have psychology, English, a history class, and then like a transition class. And then what's my 5th one? Biology.
Oof.
So I'm looking at colleges right now because I'm obviously a senior. I actually asked Marcus, who we'll get into the interview a little bit. You'll hear it. But would you recommend me going to Illinois State?
Yeah, I would. It'd be a little bit of a far travel, but
yeah, it would, obviously. But
that's okay. That's okay.
All right, so we got a bunch of news here to talk about. Nothing too big here. This is kind of our last episode, I guess, of the offseason because next week we're going to start our conference previews. So we'll get more into that at the end of the episode. I'll talk more about that at the end. But regardless, we have some news to report. Starting off with some news that Carter is not going to like talking about. The Winnipeg Jets have traded forward Rutger McGroarty and his NCAA signing rights to the Pittsburgh Penguins in exchange for forward Braden Yeager. Of the trade, Rutger McGroarty signed a 3-year entry-level contract, and when he was asked why he didn't want to play in Winnipeg, he put on the jersey and he said that it doesn't feel right. Carter, I want to know your thoughts on this. You're a Winnipeg fan. We've talked about McGroarty a few times in the last couple of weeks this offseason. What are your thoughts on this deal? That's a big sigh.
There's not a lot that I can really say here. I'm going to start off by saying this. I said that I am going to be in Philly for Cutter's return. I am going to be at this game in Winnipeg for Rutger's return because this is going to get loud. This is going to get bad. He is not hearing the end of it. Luckily for him, it's a different division. I guess kind of same with Cutter, completely different conference. He only has to face us once. It's not going to be fun. I will never listen to any draft prospect ever say the words, or some of the words where it's, I was meant to wear this jersey. This feels right. I was born to be a Flyer. If any prospect says those words, you get your head running that this guy's not going to play for my team.
Yeah. Oh, that's the truth.
It's horrible. First Cutter, now Rutger. I cannot see I cannot see the Winnipeg Jets taking an American that high ever again.
Probably not. I mean, you got to look at it right now. Like, there has to be some worry from a lot of these Canadian teams at this point about taking American players so high because there's that risk with,
Yeah.
with this McGroarty example.
We've seen it kind of. It's starting to become a trend lately. You know, it started off with Matthew Tkachuk. He's an American guy who's the face of the Calgary Flames, and then he didn't want to play there anymore. He wanted to go to an American market. He wanted to be in America, and that's what we saw. And obviously, that might not have been the same thing for Rutger, to where he wanted to be in America, but he just didn't want to. I got to assume that's what it is, right? So that kind of sucks. That's kind of all I got to say about Rutger. I will say though, I'm stoked to get Braden Yeager. I love Braden Yeager. I watched him a lot when he came to Winnipeg. Every time he'd play, when he was with Moose Jaw, he was a very big part of them making the Memorial Cup this year. So I'm very, very excited to have Braden Yeager on this team. He's a Saskatoon boy. I don't know if you guys know anything about Canadian locations, but essentially he's as close to Winnipeg as outside of Winnipeg as you can get. So he's
right next to Winnipeg, right?
Yeah,
Manitoba's right next to
Saskatchewan.
Not
yeah.
Winnipeg.
So he's pretty close. He's close, and so I think that means he's going to stay, and we're going to keep him for a long period. I hope he's a Winnipeg Jet for life, because I think Braden Yeager he's going to be a great part of what we're building in the future here.
So I want to compare their stats before we move on. So with Moose Jaw Warriors in the WHL this past year, Braden Yeager went from a 78-point season in 67 games played to a 95-point season in only 57 games played. This guy had a great year, scored 35 goals, had a breakout season with the Moose Jaw Warriors, even played in the World Juniors, was a point per game and a +6. So that's something to look forward to there as well. I don't know what the timeline is. I would imagine it says on Elite Prospects that he might play another year with Moose Jaw. I don't know if you heard anything about if he's going to come over and play it with the Moose or anything, Carter, but at least as of right now, kind of want to just give the kids some time. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
I think they're going to give him another year in Moose Jaw. If he's got one more year in Moose Jaw, I think give it to him. But I mean, if he's pro hockey ready, which I think he's very close to being, if not already there, give him a little stint with the Moose. But I think they're going to kind of play it the same way as they kind of did with. Actually, I can't really say if they did the same with Brad Lambert, because he was a little different, because it was obviously COVID year and everything like that. So,
right.
I think you could give him a shot right in the A right away. He'd definitely be a great piece there, but also you could give him another year junior. But I mean, I don't know how much he's going to develop if he's going to put up that average of points per game in a junior season.
Right.
So,
right,
you give him a taste of pro hockey, but
yeah. So Rutger McGroarty this past year in 36 games played with the University of Michigan had 52 points in 16 games played. Obviously, Michigan, or obviously the NCAA and the CHL are two completely different leagues. But regardless, I think McGroarty put up good numbers there. On the World Juniors this past year, too, he had 9 points in 7 games played, en route to, I believe, a gold medal. So, yeah, so this guy's experienced. I think Pittsburgh gets a solid prospect here. He's already their best prospect in the pool. Like it's not even close either. Like the next one is Owen Pickering. It's without a doubt Rutger McGroarty for sure. Now, I don't know if it's necessarily a game changer, because McGroarty's probably going to play in the NHL right away, I would imagine, because of the demands that he wants. And Pittsburgh wouldn't go out and get him unless if, they wanted that. So, or, they were going to grant him that. So I think this trade's overall pretty good. Any final thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think for me, it kind of reminds me of the transfer portal in college basketball. It's like, especially with these American prospects who are getting drafted to Canadian teams, it's like if they want out, they pretty much get to pick where they go, And it's like when I see this with college basketball players, it's like, okay, well, you go to a school for 1 year, then you go wherever else you want to go. It's kind of weird for me. I mean, Canadians are still, it's a huge market. It's probably a bigger market than it is in here in America. But I mean, I get people wanting to play it for their home country and everything, but I mean, these Canadian teams are huge. So
I don't know. It's really strange, and with the Cutter situation and the McGroarty situation, there's been a few other situations in the past of
Yeah.
players forcing their ways there, like Adam Fox. Like it's all it. First off, it's all American players, and it kind of speaks for what is happening here. But it makes me feel like it's such a more player ran league. Like, let me ask you guys this question. I asked my friend this. I think I asked LeBlanc this question on the MVP yesterday. Would you guys trade what you have right now? Like, let's say, like, Jack, you're in college, Carter's in college, I'm in high school. Would you trade that right now for a spot in the NHL?
Yes.
To be drafted in the NHL.
If I could skate.
Well, yeah,
I can't hold my own, but 100% I'd do it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, these kids are making it to the NHL. You have any idea how many kids wanted to go to the NHL? I'm sure as little kids, we all wanted to go to the NHL. Like, honestly, it's kind of ridiculous that, like, you get straight to the NHL, don't even play a single game at
And
that.
then you want
Don't
out,
even
yeah.
play.
It just
like-
doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Don't even play for the minor league affiliate. Don't even, like, at least try to play with the team. Like, Cutter and McGroarty are two perfect examples of this. Like, it just seems like these players think that they're entitled to something, and it's how you become a hated player, honestly. And it's funny because we talked about Cutter in January. Rutger McGroarty is now the Cutter Gauthier of Winnipeg. So, and it's funny because Carter's a fan of both teams, so my heart goes out to
Pretty
Carter.
much the same exact situation there. So
Yeah, my heart goes out to Carter for sure. All right, so moving on. We have another instance we do actually have another instance of a player wanting out, but in this instance, I understand it. So Yaroslav Askarov, as we talked about in the last episode, me and Carter, we said that he requested a trade out of Nashville. He said he wouldn't play for the AHL team, and it came after the Saros extension. Now, on a level, I understand this because, first off, he is clearly one of, if not the best goalie prospect in the league right now. And, of course, when you're playing in the AHL, you're putting up phenomenal numbers. You come to the Predators, and you're still putting up phenomenal numbers, even in some of the games you played. And one of the other goalies, who's a good goalie, but he signs a long-term extension, then you get another backup goalie, which is essentially saying, yeah, you're playing in the AHL this year. Really? Like, this guy is clearly ready to play in the NHL, and it's kind of ridiculous how, Nashville would go out and do this. I understand why, but again, it's kind of ridiculous. So we finally have a team where Askarov's going to go to. It's the San Jose Sharks, where they get Askarov, forward Nolan Burke, and a 2025 third-round pick. In exchange, the Predators get David Edstrom, goaltender Magnus Krona, and a 2025 first-round pick, which is Vegas's. It is top 10 protected, but San Jose will have the option to send their own first instead of Vegas's first, which face it, they're going to send Vegas's first. But I want to hear from Jack first before I go to Carter, because Carter, we talked about this last episode. Jack, your Blackhawks were reportedly in on Askarov. Are you disappointed they didn't get him?
yeah, obviously, as you mentioned, he's pretty much number one goalie prospect right now, and I think it definitely came down to us and then the Sharks. But yeah, it fits both teams' timeline, and that's huge for the Sharks to get him. I know the Blackhawks, we got Brosseau from the Jets, who was backing up Hellebuck. So I think that kind of played a factor into it. He's young, he's solid, so I think like moving ahead, that will be our goalie. So I think the Sharks were definitely probably a little more aggressive than the Hawks were in going after him, but it's just perfect for the Sharks timeline and all that with Celebrini coming in. So yeah, that's a solid 1-2 punch right there. When you have a goalie like that and then a superstar in the making in Celebrini.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. It makes complete sense. It's a great move for San Jose. They don't give up a ton either. Edstrom, I got to get my heart out to him. The guy's been traded twice in the last year, ever since being drafted. So, poor guy. But, Carter, was this the return that you expected?
I probably would have expected a little more, but I think that Nashville's hands were kind of tied. I think as soon as Askarov says, and his agency says publicly that he's requested a trade, your hands start to become tied. That's just kind of how it works. Like, you got a guy who says he doesn't want to play for a franchise. Teams are going to be like, well, I understand that, like, this might not be the offer you want, but it's like, how much better is this going to get for you? Because this goalie, he's not suiting up for you guys anytime soon. It gives the other teams so much more power. And so So I think their hands were kind of tied. I think they should have dealt with this a lot sooner, especially if they kind of figured they were going to keep Saros. They should have dealt with this sooner, but ultimately they didn't, and it's gonna come back and bite them.
You know, do you guys remember those rumors about a year ago, even this year too, where the Predators were shopping around Yaroslav Askarov to possibly get a high draft pick, and there were offers that were even higher for him out there? You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, again, you could have gotten so much for him if you traded him even a few months back. But again, I completely understand Askarov in this scenario. Like McGroarty, we can talk about, like how, he was demanding time and all that. But Askarov has the right for this, to be honest with you. I think this is justified because it's a completely different position. And I think the return works out for both teams. And also, as Jack said, San Jose is loaded now. They have almost all of their cornerstones. They have all their guys to build off of. And they're still in the thick of the rebuild. They could get even more guys to add to the pool.
We could see a little push this season, honestly. So
I'm not ruling that out either. There's a lot of young guys on this team. This team's definitely going to be more entertaining than last year. I still think they're going to be bad, but they're going to be fun. They're going to be very fun to watch with Celebrini and Will Smith and, Sam Dickinson coming up the pipeline eventually. And
they'll get another high draft pick too.
What's that?
They'll get another high draft pick too this year.
Yeah, exactly. And they already have a lot of capital as it is. So this team has everything in their favor right now. They are in such a perfect spot. It's terrific. All right, Thatcher Demko is expected to miss training camp and preseason due to injury, per Rick Dollywall and Thomas Drance. The club is hopeful he is ready for the regular season opener, but that even seems to be in the question at this late stage in the summer. Canucks management is exploring its options and appears to be in the market for additional insurance in net. One of their targets is free agent Kevin Lankinen, to whom made an offer earlier this week, but their salary cap situation may make a move difficult. So Demko is probably going to miss at least the first week or two of the regular season with this news. I think that, if you miss training camp and preseason, you're going to need some time to warm up. You're going to need some time to get back into it and get ready. So he's going to miss at least a week. I don't know if Vancouver's worried, though. They got Arthur Shelovs, who looked really good in the playoffs. They have, who's their backup? I don't even know who their backup is. They moved on from DeSmith. I'm not 100% sure, but they do have Shelovs, who was good this past year in the playoffs. So if they bring in someone like Kevin Lankinen, I think it can work out. Does this make you guys lower on the Canucks, though?
Probably not. Like you said, if it's just like 1 or 2 weeks to start the season, they'll be just fine. And, I mean, we know what their offense did last year, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we kind of saw it a lot last year. I mean, they were without Demko in that playoff series and still took, the Stanley Cup finalists to 7 games, and they didn't have really Demko much in that series, if at all. And Silos played great, so I think they'll be just fine. I don't think this makes me any lower on them.
Yeah,
by any means.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're still in a good spot. All right, moving on now. So NHL 25. There has been some info announced on the NHL 25 cover. Me and Carter forgot to talk about this when Laine was traded to Montreal. We missed this, I think. But there is some news on it. They have named the Hughes brothers as the EA Sports NHL 25 cover athlete. Is this the right choice? Is this a good idea? What do you guys think?
I think it was a good idea. I like what they did with Zegras and then Nurse. Was that last year?
2 years ago.
Okay, yeah. I like putting multiple people on it. It's cool. I think they did Kane and Taves after the 2015 Cup, which was cool. So, yeah, I like the idea of the 3 brothers being on there.
What do you think, Carter?
It's cool. I like it. It's something different. I mean, you're taking not taking advantage, but you're kind of taking advantage of a situation that, not a lot of sports can really throw out there, having 3 brothers on, who are all unreal at their sport and who all play, the same sport and play it at the highest level, other than obviously the Watt brothers. But I mean, all 3 of them were never really elite at the same time, as kind of the Hughes brothers are. I mean, Luke obviously isn't elite, but he's a great player.
He'll get there. I think he'll get there. Did you guys see the new score clock they're adding to the game?
Yeah.
That's cool. They got it up in the
No,
corner
where is
instead
it?
of the bottom. I'll
Oh,
send it
corner.
to the group chat, Jack, if you haven't seen
Okay.
it. But it's very cool. So some other announcement that they
Yeah,
do
that
have
sounds better.
that we will be talking about eventually in later podcasts. So in the next couple of days, they will talk about some of the gameplay stuff. In early to mid-September, they will do presentation stuff and franchise mode. Apparently, they're supposed to do a franchise mode revamp, kind of opening the door for GM Connected. I'm not speaking it into existence, but it would be nice. Late September, they're going to talk about Hut, which who cares about that? The Hughes brothers face off. Do any of you guys play Hut? Have you guys ever played Hut?
Yeah. I used to play a lot when I was a kid, kind of during like the COVID times when there wasn't really much to do. I would grind Hut for like 3 hours a day.
I'm not a big Hut guy. I can't lie. It's expected to release in October. However, another piece of news here: it's only for next gen consoles, so PS5 and Xbox X. I don't know what the Xbox is. I'm a PS guy, but if you don't have a PS5, have fun playing
Get on
it for the rest of your life. Yeah, I got to buy a PS5 now, so I'm kind of
Yeah, me too.
screwed financially. Yeah. All right, one more piece of news here before we move on. This is for Jack because I wanted to ask Jack about this. Have you seen the leaked Winter Classic jerseys for the Blackhawks?
I have. Yes, I have.
What do you think of them?
I like them. I think maybe like just the logo. I think you could have gone a little more retro-ish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the jerseys. I'll probably get one.
Word. Are you going to get Bedsy on the back? First game outdoor for Bedsy?
I don't know because I already have the home red Bedard jersey. So
You're gonna do Frank
maybe,
Nazer, aren't you?
Oh, get
I could do
Nazer.
Nazer
Yes.
if he's up. Yeah,
That's a great idea.
I'm
I think
sure
he will
won't
be
in the
though.
AHL. Yeah, I don't think he'll be in the AHL by that time. But
Yeah, I think he will be. All right, well, that's all I got for news. We're going to take a little bit of a break, and we're going to send it over to the interview that I did with Marcussi. So the guys here could not join me for that interview, but last night I talked to Marcussi about college hockey, his story getting into hockey, all things Boston Bruins. It was a great conversation. We actually had a podcast years ago. It was called the Nord and Mark podcast. We did 6 episodes from like June 2021 to July 2021. It was a great time. He's a terrific guy. I'm looking forward to you guys hearing this interview. And without further ado, here is Marcussi. All right, so today we are joined with a very special guest, a pretty good friend of mine. I've known him for a very long time. In his college dorm room in Merrimack, a big Merrimack hockey fan, a big Boston Bruins fan, somebody who has, I think, at least 5,000 followers on Instagram. I think he's around 15K on TikTok, maybe more. I can't entirely remember. But I got my good friend here and former podcast partner, Marcussi, a.k.a. Marcus Antonelli. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing good, Evan. It's good to be on the show. Been watching it for a while, and I'm excited to talk to you.
I can't believe it took me so long to get you on. This is episode 69 that you're going to be in. So it's been, yeah, I know.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't believe it took me this long to get you on. Honestly, unreal. So how are you settling in? Before we get into my main questions, how are you settling in your third year at Merrimack?
Settling in pretty good. I have a million good things to say about Merrimack. It's a great school, nice, humble, smaller school, but also some good college hockey. You get to witness a lot of NHL talent come through here with the Hockey East. So I always have a million good things to say about it, but it's great. Settling in well for third year.
Awesome. We'll definitely get into a lot of the college hockey talk because I've been seeing your coverage of Merrimack, and it was pretty terrific these last couple of seasons. But my first question for you is the one that we ask every single person we bring onto the show. How did you get into hockey?
Shout out my pops. God rest his soul. Man, I remember when I was a kid, there was Curious George on the TV and like Phineas and Ferb, but my dad fully sat me down and I was watching Zdeno Chara absolutely make meat of any forward that came across the blue line with Dennis Seidenberg. I just remember watching him and just the Bruins in general as a kid, and I fell in love, really. I fell in love with all Boston sports as a kid, but the team that really sort of like hooked me was the Bruins. I just loved watching them, the excitement of hockey and everything. it's an amazing sport. It's a beautiful sport. I love watching hockey. I haven't played it as much as I've watched it, but the Bruins are something near and dear special, man. That's probably it. All started with my dad just sitting me as a baby in front of the TV and watching those guys.
It really is a beautiful sport. So, talking about content creation, you have 20K on TikTok. Apologies. I was
Don't worry about it. It's
5,000.
cool. I don't even keep track.
5,000 off, man. Look how unprofessional I am. But how did you get into content creation? Because you started a while ago. You've been doing this for a long time.
It has been quite a while. You're right. You and I kind of like were starting around the same time, and I think you would agree when you say this. When COVID happened, I mean, we were like bored as hell, right? Mm-hmm. And I kind of had nothing else to do, and people always told me, I assume people tell you this too, that when we talk about hockey, it's like, wow, you really know what you're talking about. And what better way to just talk about hockey than to just broadcast it out to, say, a bigger audience. I've always loved getting other people's opinions on like a certain sports topic. I love discussing sports. I love discussing hockey. And, I started on TikTok. I started making videos and I was like, wow, this is a great way to connect with people who love the sport of hockey or the Bruins as much as I do, right? That's kind of the whole reason I do it. So it just kind of started from there. I just would, if the Bruins lost, I would just scream at the TV. If they won, or I'd scream at the TV and record myself. If they won, I would fully go ballistic and be like, yeah, this is awesome. And I'd record it. If we signed somebody, I'd say something about it and people would give their thoughts too. And it was honestly like super fun at the time to do. And I can't say I've lost the love for it. So
what was like the first video or videos where you really started realizing, man, like I could actually like make a real community out of this? Like the first video that kind of like made you go like, I guess, viral in a way?
I wouldn't say it was a viral video. I will say like I would look at like certain videos and I'd be like, oh my God, people are watching this. I would just say that the big thing for me was in 2021, when things started picking back up with the hockey world and whatnot, was when I really started to make like in-depth videos. Like, here are my thoughts on this. This is what what I think of Tuukka Rask all of a sudden coming back. I think just seeing a consistency in people, like giving their thoughts back on my videos and whatnot. I think that was really when I was like, whoa, like people actually watch this. And then I'll say I got to senior year of high school and a lot of kids around the hallways started saying like Marcussi. I'm like, what? I'm like, wait, what do you mean? They're like, I saw your TikTok about Pastrnak or whatever. I'm just like, you did? I think that's really when it started to hit me like, whoa, people are like batting an eyes when people who knew me like sort of on a personable level started taking notice and were saying like, yo, I seen your stuff. And now it's like on the daily, I find somebody at school when I'm like walking around, they're like, aren't you that Bruins kid? I'm like, yeah, I'm the Bruins kid, I guess you could say. It's not just me. Like, there's a ton of great like Bruins creators, but I guess I'm considered the Bruins kid. So.
Well, you did grow up in Massachusetts, right? You don't need to reveal where, but you grew up in that area.
I'm New England, born and raised, Massachusetts, Masshole, whatever you want to call it. People say I have the accent, I guess. I don't know. They love it when I say Florida, like the Florida Panthers. Apparently I say it weird, but yeah, I'm the whole Masshole.
So I saw one of your posts. It was a few weeks ago, might have been like a month ago. I remember you did something where it was like Stanley Cup champions if the finals were reversed, and it had Boston having like 7 cups. I know the Flyers were up there too. And what's funny is that like I even showed it to my grandparents. I'm like, look how many cups we would have won had we won even like 4 of those finals we were in. The same way for you, but like, how do you come up with some of those ideas? I know you collab with Bartner for a few of them. Like I'm looking at your Instagram right now. Your literally most recent post is with Bartner. So how do you come up with those?
He texted me like 5 minutes ago, like before 7 o'clock. Not even 5 minutes ago, but he texted me. He was like, "Yo, I got this U24 post. You want to help me out with it and like post it?" I was like, "I'm like fully watching Ted Lasso." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So, I'd say the ideas for my posts. My mom's always said I'm a very like creative kid. I just love to, you know, I love to create, you know what I mean? I love to like make new things. Growing up watching like NBC Sports and like NBC Hockey, you remember like all the little graphics they would make with like a certain player, not just NBC, but like shout out to any sports like graphic stat. I love that stuff, you know what I mean? And I loved like presenting that information, especially in conversation. I'll be like, Jeremy Swayman has the most goals save above expected. Like, I just love sharing that information. And I'm also a very like artsy person. So what better way to combine both and just like, put it on Instagram? I feel like I finally got a, knack down on it. And I don't know. It's really fun. I have to say, it's just like creating things like best Bruin from each state. I don't even know if I've made that yet, but that's just like, it's something fun to do. It's something, that I enjoy making. And it's even more fun when I share it and people engage with it. And they also have fun sharing their 2 cents on it. So I can't really explain the brain stuff. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's just like,
No, you're good.
I just do it. I don't know.
I remember you did one. It was a while ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you did one where it was like, you ranked like the top 50 Boston sports players of all time. I think you did. It was something along those lines. I remember that list. That was actually a pretty good list. I don't think I could have done better, honestly. So transitioning over into some of like your college stuff. I don't know how much you can disclose, like how you decided to go to Merrimack, but like, were you down to a few colleges when you were thinking, or was it Merrimack from the start?
So Merrimack is a smaller local school, I'd say, you know what I mean, in like northern Massachusetts. I've been to a few of their games as a kid. And in general, my dad would always he went to UMaine, and a big thing for him was a thing we bonded over, not only with the Bruins, it was also college hockey. And up here in the Northeast, down south, everybody's got college football or college basketball, whatever. Up here, it's college hockey. Like if you're not also watching the Bruins, you're also watching what's going on in college hockey. It's huge in New England. And I could see that with my dad. He took me to like nearly every Hockey East arena, and I loved it. It's super fast paced. Most of the guys go to the NHL. I think Hockey East gets the most NHL players going from college, from conference. I can't say that for sure. But with Merrimack, the big thing for me was, I just liked the smaller school environment. And at the same time, I just love, the fact that there's a Division I college, program on campus, and I can go and watch it. And another big thing was just the people at Merrimack are super nice. There's a million people at Merrimack. There's not a million people. It's like 5,000 plus people, but every single person is like so unique and just like very down to earth. And there's a thing that people say when they come here, everybody holds the door for each other. Like, and people say that's something they don't see at every institution. So I'm proud to say I go here, and I'm proud to say that I'm part of such a great community.
I'm in my senior year of high school right now, and I'm looking at colleges to go. Would you recommend that I go to Merrimack? If I could afford it, because it's out of state for me. It's in, Rhode Island?
Merrimack is a growing school. Every individual, obviously, when they do college, they have to look at it from their perspective. Like I said, a lot of people like going to like big schools. Like I know I got friends who go to like UConn and other big schools, and that's them. They love that. I got friends who go to Amherst. For me, I was big on the ability to still do what I want here, but in a smaller school like environment. I'm not really about the big campus, big stuff, if that makes sense. So for you, if I'd say for you, big thing is like look at it in the sense of what can they bring out of you and what can you, it's like a symbiotic relationship with the college down to a T with the living. Like I got a good living space and I'm blessed to say I do. Down to the food, down to like the littlest things. If you love the school 100%, which I mean, aside from the food here, I do, then, I was going to choose it. So for you, you need to figure that out on your own. I can't really speak for you, but I would recommend Merrimack. I love the campus. It's great. The school's awesome.
Well, I've been looking at different colleges. I didn't like go to Merrimack and look at like an actual tour. I'm not going to Rhode Island unless if I really want to go there, but I did look into it for sure. And hey, why not go to college with an old friend of mine? But it seems like you have your own thing there with the hockey team. And if I came in, I feel like I would steal the show from you. No disrespect.
Really
but
join
I'm
on,
kidding,
buddy.
obviously.
We'd love it.
That'd actually be awesome. So I noticed here, like you became like the main, I guess, kind of reporter for the Merrimack hockey team, and you actually write for the Merrimack College Student newspaper. So did you kind of like, was a lot of this stuff involved with the school, or did you like volunteer to do a lot of the coverage you do? I know obviously the student newspaper was a thing, but like how did you get into the hockey side of it?
So when I came in, I remember them advertising like, oh, you have your student organizations. They have a TV station here. They have a radio station here. And they had a student newspaper. All three clubs, I joined right away the second I walked in, right? The student involvement fair, they were there. And I was like, I just put in my email, sign me up. First year, I just started writing articles on the Bruins and the team. And this was the year the team went to the Hockey East Championship and had like a Cinderella season. That year, like, was really fun, but I didn't like cover the team like that. I just kind of like wrote articles about them and direct message the players for quotes. My last year was the year that it really started to pick up, where I really said like, I can really try and make something of this. I went into last year, got a ton of like, suits dressed up. People will tell you that I was in the press boxes. I kind of, not gonna lie to you, Evan, I kind of just like, put myself, in straight into the fire. I walked into the rinks, or I would email like, the rinks, and I'd say, hey, how do I get media credentials? And they would say, you want media credentials for this Merrimack game? Yes, please. I'd get in my car, drive to the rink when Merrimack's playing, sit down in my spot, and it was awesome. I didn't think it was so simple, but it's sort of a self-taught experience where I just, put myself out there. My first game actually was Northeastern, and driving into Boston, I was like, oh shoot, I'm gonna have to pay for parking. And then I walk in there and they're like, here's your free parking pass. And it was a moment of realization. I was like, whoa, the journalism life is kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie. They give you like free food vouchers. I know BU, you get free chicken tenders and fries. It's really sick. So getting started was just putting myself out there, really, and just like put myself in a situation where I was like uncomfortable. I asked a ton of questions. I have to be honest with you. It's a lot of like asking like, hey, what's going on for this? Hey, what's going on for that? But it's so exhilarating. It's so fun. And the reward of being able to just like watch all this up and coming NHL talent for free is the best in the world. So I love it.
That's awesome. That's actually awesome. Who are some of the NHL prospects who have come through Merrimack? Are there any that are in it right now?
So most recently, I did an interview with Zach Bookman. He is not like he doesn't have his rights owned by anybody, but I do know for the last 2 years he's been invited to Rangers and Kings development camp. So watch out for him. He is a great two-way defenseman, by the way. Amazing person, too. Coming through Merrimack, the big names I know, Stéphane DaCosta in 2010. He's like one of the greatest French players ever. He like holds some records at Merrimack. He kind of took them to the Hockey East Championship as well. It's not I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Merrimack doesn't have as big of like should I say, an NHL alumni presence like other schools. Jonathan Kovacevic, I know he went to New Jersey this offseason. He's a defenseman. I'm kind of blanking on a few names, but yeah, Merrimack is they're trying to grow their NHL presence for sure, but there were a few names I could kind of rub off the top of my head. I'm trying to think. Shoot, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
It's embarrassing. I'm sorry, Merrimack. Golly. But we do have I have done the research. We have players, a few players in NHL Central Scouting. You get players who, get invited to these NHL development camps. So guys do come here and they do get NHL looks. But, I was told by Bookie when I interviewed him, he was like, the big reason I came to Merrimack was Hockey East gets a lot of attention and NHL attention. The scouts fully show up. You'll see a little Red Wings logo or something. You're like, whoa. I'll tell you this. I met an Anaheim Duck scout and I was like, how long have you been a Duck scout? And he was like, about 10 years. I'm like, so you know Hampus Lindholm? He's like, yeah, Hampus is all class. I was like, this is so awesome. So it was
great. That's awesome. I don't mean to put you on the spot here. I guess I'll word the question this way. Who are some of your favorite players who have gone through Merrimack? Not even just prospects, some of your favorite players to talk to that you've seen watch.
Without a doubt, I'd say Bookman for sure. I think in general, when you watch him play, the way he's able to control the pace, he moves the puck well, he skates amazing, his awareness is awesome. In my opinion, he's a perfect two-way defenseman. More recently, last year, one of our freshmen who's now a sophomore, Ethan Bono, he's a great center. His defensive game is great. He is really tall, so he's able to really wrap up somebody. He did it to Celebrini a few times before they got in a scuffle. But aside from that, he's great. Ben Brar, he's in the ECHL with the Florida Everblades. They just won the whole thing. He's a great forward in every aspect. He's so fundamentally sound. He's a great scorer. Matt Capone, too, is an amazing scorer as well. Those are some of my favorites that have come through Merrimack. I've enjoyed watching them a lot. There's a lot of names, I will say. There's a lot of great talent that's come through Merrimack.
So, overall, looking at the whole college spectrum, who are some of your favorite teams to see when they come into town? Because obviously you've seen Macklin Celebrini. Some of the top prospects have come to town and have played Merrimack. Yeah. But who are some of your favorites that you've seen over the years?
It is really cool to I love how you mentioned that because it is true. If you do want to come catch a nice local hockey game, you can literally come to Merrimack. It's they're playing BU. The projected number 1 overall pick is in the building. It's awesome. I will say in my years of college hockey watching, just enjoying it, growing up, it was UMass Lowell. It was either UMass Lowell or Merrimack were the local teams, but UMass Lowell made some deep runs. I know in the 2010s, they were a scary team. I'm trying to think. I always had my heart was always as a BU Terrier, because I did seeing, Charlie McAvoy and whatnot. UMaine because of my dad, but BU and UMaine are rivals. I don't know. Any school, I know the lore is crazy. Any school from the Hockey East Conference, I just really enjoyed watching. I didn't really have a certain preference, but I think just being able to see like you said, so many of these NHL prospects come through and just kind of elevate the game of college hockey, it was just awesome to see because it's something that I feel is now on the rise in terms of junior hockey or hockey below the NHL level, right? Because we all know how much attention Canadian hockey leagues get. We know how much attention the Swedish hockey league get. I always felt as a kid growing up, college hockey was kind of overlooked in a sense. Not so much as it is now. A lot of NHL prospect talent is going to play NCAA, and I love it. It's awesome because it makes it better for me. I get to see all these teams with this guy's going to the Sharks, this guy's going to the Ducks, this guy's going to the Hurricanes, this guy's this guy's that, and you look at the roster sheets. I really wish I had it with me so I can kind of like show you like all the roster sheets I get. There'll be like a Hurricanes logo next to this guy. Like Dan Zlichmelis will come in. Bruins logo. Philip Spedback. Bruins logo. It's like it's super cool. I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do actually think that like college hockey really like even as recent as like a few years ago, like I would say around like 2017, like most players came from the Canadian hockey leagues and other leagues, and college hockey was honestly a little like, there were good guys that came from there, but
Right.
you look at the last couple of years, a lot of high draft picks have come from college. Will Smith, Macklin Celebrini, the list goes on, Logan Cooley as well. And I think that not only is college hockey, but the United States Hockey League is also getting a lot more recognition. That's not like you usually see a lot of players from the USHL go to college, so it seems like that's getting a lot of recognition as well. It's honestly great to see. I think if I'm correct, I even heard rumors that they were gonna do like an NCAA CHL crossover. Have you heard about that?
I haven't really looked much into that, but I am interested to look at. I literally was like going to get around to like reading that stuff, but Mike McMahon, who is a fellow Merrimack Warrior alum, or I'm not an alum yet, but he is a fellow Merrimack. Like he covers the team as well. He's also like the college hockey guy. So if you like college hockey and you want to follow it entirely, he is the guy to go to. He fully wrote an entire article about it, and I can't really speak for what he says or what this little NCAA CHL like merger thing is, if you will. But I would love to see something like that take place. I do know, and I don't know if you do, but they were thinking of doing like a Canadian Hockey League versus NCAA thing, I think.
Yeah.
I would love to see that just to give that little Canada versus USA thing, because you and I are Americans. We want to see USA kick the crap out of Canada.
Oh, yeah. We do.
I need to see that Four Nations tournament. I need to see the Olympics back with NHL talent. Best on best. Give me that. I need that.
I am honestly, even though it's off topic, like the Four Nations, even though it's only Sweden, Finland, Canada, I'm so excited for it.
Oh, I need that. It's in Boston, too.
Yes, it's going to be terrific. Are you going to go to some of the games?
I have to get tickets. I have to. I'm fully dropping $1,000. No, I'm not. I'm probably going to look at the tickets and be like, but I need to see it. I have to see it. It's so the anticipation of just seeing best on best NHL stuff is crazy. To think that 10 years ago, TJ Sochi was a thing. It's like, what? That was 10 years ago, and we haven't had Olympic moments like that since. I need it.
It's unreal. It's the warm up too for the following year when the Winter Olympics are in Italy. So it's gonna be very exciting. All right, one last college question for you here. You look at the overall, all of the teams that are in the NCAA right now. Who would you, if you had to give like a prediction on who's gonna win next year's championship? Who would you think? Is Denver running it back? Is Merrimack going far? Is BC going for it? Who are you going with here?
Well, I would love to see Merrimack, raise a banner in Lawler Rink. That would be awesome. There's so much talent though in college hockey. It's nuts. Like some of these teams are just not only just the talent, but the teams are just so fundamentally sound. They're well coached. You mentioned Denver, David Carl. He's a great coach, and especially with you look at Denver, they're one of the youngest teams on paper, especially last year when they won. You would look at a team like Denver and say, how did they win when they're the youngest team? Well, they're well coached. You know what I mean? When you're well disciplined, you win. I look at it, I really want to go with the bias of a local team. I feel like BU or BC could really like contend for a championship. I know more out west teams have won it in the recent years, but I feel like Boston College is on the rise in terms of like, they got a lot of young talent coming in. Teddy Steja, James Higgins, who's the projected 2025 first overall pick. Holy crap. They got him too. Dean Latorno, they got him. BU's got a lot of young talent coming in too. I feel like they're going to be really flashy and a huge team to watch out for. I'd probably say at first glance, because I haven't really looked at all the teams, maybe one of those two. But they always duke it out. It's always a battle between
They're always in it. It always seems like the two Michigan colleges are always in it as well.
Oh yeah.
Although Michigan, I do feel like, yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say like Michigan's always they stack the joke is like they stack the talent and then they make the Frozen Four and then they just can't get over. They can't.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They always make the semifinals and lose every time.
It's so funny to me how they just cannot. They'll have a super team and then they just cannot get over the hump. It's hilarious. Minnesota's also always a pretty good team, and I feel like North Dakota too is a team to look out for. Those are sort of like my teams.
Yeah, North Dakota last year I thought looked pretty exciting. I think I had them going far. And
there you go.
That didn't go well. But anyways, yeah. So transitioning over to the Boston Bruins now, your favorite NHL team. So they made a lot of offseason moves this past offseason, bringing in Lindholm, bringing in Zadorov. What are your thoughts on those? Do you think they did a good job?
So I remember sitting and watching my phone and seeing like, oh, the Bruins are going after Lindholm and Zadorov, and I was like, first line center, check. Top pair potential defenseman or just a very tough defenseman, so to speak, check. Two big needs, I'd say, for the Bruins. 2 needs they said they would address and 2 needs they went after and got. I've seen a lot of people say that they're overpayments or they're like, what are they doing? This is too much money. Lindholm isn't worth this. Yada, yada, yada. I'm just going to set the record straight. I love the signings. Why? Because they fill needs. I look at the team on paper and I say, wow, the team looks a lot better. And I look at it from a perspective where I say, Elias Lindholm, he's a guy who, could give you maybe 80 points a season. He could give you 60. I don't know. The range is pretty wide from his career trajectory. However, when he played on a line with, Johnny Gaudreau and Matt Tkachuk, they were buzzing, right? He's potentially going to be on a line with David Pastrnak. Well, he's definitely going to be on a line with David Pastrnak and Pavel Zacha. Now, we know Pastrnak and Zacha were booling. They were absolutely buzzing. Sorry, I used buzzing, bool. I don't even know. They were great with David Krejci. I look at Lindholm and I'm like, fill that man right in. He'll do just fine. I think he'll do just fine in the Bruins system. People are calling him like a baby Bergeron. I'm like, yo, don't put that pressure on him. He's just Elias Lindholm. I think it's a great signing. Zadorov. Sorry, I blab. Zadorov. People really consider this one an overpayment and have come to me and are like, you're overpaying for him too much. I feel like the biggest need for the Bruins, especially in the playoffs, they were getting pounded in the defensive zone from forecheck. They've suffered it from Carolina. They've suffered it from Florida. And I think Nikita Zadorov on that back end will fully make teams think twice about forechecking us. He is a big body presence that we need. I'm excited for him more than anybody that we brought in. He is a great, in my opinion, addition for the Bruins. I think my favorite of them.
Well, people forget that, honestly, when you look at Boston's center depth before they brought in Lindholm, it was weak. Like, you had Charlie Coyle as your first-line center a lot of the season, and Coyle had a good year, but he should not be a first-line center, all due respect to him. But Lindholm, great, awesome first-liner. I think that was rumored for such a long time. There were even rumors at the trade deadline that Vancouver, after getting Lindholm from Calgary, was going to flip him to Boston for like Jake Gensel or something, try and make a move there. I don't know. It was a whole rumor, but I kind of saw this coming. I think it's a great contract. I think the Zadorov deal is good too. People look at these and say that, oh, they're overpays. I guess maybe a couple years down the road, they could be, I guess. But honestly, at least as of right now, the salary cap is rising. I think a lot of these contracts are really planned for the cap to rise. So a few years down the road, when the salary cap's a few $1 million higher than it is right now, I think we could be looking at those contracts and say, oh, they aged pretty well. So I don't hate Don Sweeney for those whatsoever. One of the more controversial moves that was made this past offseason, I think you know where I'm going with this, was the Linus Ullmark trade, where they traded Ullmark to Ottawa for a first-round pick where they took Dean Letourneau, Yoannis Korpisalo, and Mark Kastelik. So when this trade dropped, it was the night of Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals.
Yep, it was.
What were your thoughts on this deal?
So originally, I looked at it with disappointment, but then I never try to react in the initial like when it happens, right? Because then you make a rash thought about it. At first, obviously, you look at that package and you're like, we just gave up a former Vezina winner for that package, and then I sat back and thought, and my friends kept DMing me, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? And I finally recollected it. And I was like, okay, Linus Ullmark did not re-sign or extend his contract. So in my opinion, that was kind of the best package you were going to get. And in my opinion, it was still a decent one at that. You got a fourth line center or a fourth line winger. I don't even know. Kostelec is just a forward. You got a fourth line forward at like 835,000 1 year. It's nothing. If he doesn't work out, he doesn't work out. But there's upside to that. You get a first round pick. It was originally yours. Fine by me. Build up your prospect pool a bit. We picked a unicorn. You said Dean Letourneau. I'm excited to see that guy and see what he can do because 6'7" as a center and you're only like 18 years old. Hopefully you grow into something amazing. So the upside's there. I'm fine with it. And everyone was talking about how they did not like the Korpisalo thing. I like the stability of having a backup goaltender because when you think about it, yes, we're still trying to work out Jeremy Swayman. At the same, we'll hope we're going to get to that. But in let's just say we get Swayman back. Swayman hasn't played a full season as a Bruins goaltender. He's always shared the light with Ullmark, right? Korpisalo, despite his under par numbers in Ottawa, gives you a sort of 20 to 30 game stability as a backup, right? He's had better numbers with a better team. I look at the Los Angeles Kings, his little stint there as like okay, but he had this, so have some confidence with it. And plus, Steve Stamkos took a little dough off to the side just so it wouldn't be too much. You know what I mean? It's only $3 million AAV. So in total, I'm just fine with it. I am gonna miss the hugs. I really am gonna miss them.
Me too, for sure. Maybe in an alternate universe they're together again. But regardless, I do think that it works. I feel like it's a trade. It's going to take a little bit before we know if it really is a win for Boston or if it works out for Boston. Obviously, you have current results with Kostelec and Korpisalo, who Kostelec is a center, by the way. I think that he's a good physical fourth line guy. He was one of my favorites in Ottawa. He fights a lot. I think that that's going to be fun to see.
That screams
protect some of the young guys in Beecher and Poitras. But with Korpisalo, the way I see it is, again, you have him on a cheaper contract. And last year, he did have a really bad season by a lot of statistics, but so did Ottawa. So did Ottawa with the way they played. I think Korpisalo will be better as a backup than he would be as a starter, to be openly honest with you. Now, of course, I would rather Ullmark. And Ottawa probably gets their goalie that solves that issue for at least the current time period. He's got to sign a contract, kind of like Swayman. But Korpisalo, again, I think will be better as a backup. He will have less pressure on him. And I think that, honestly, he is behind a way better decor than Ottawa's. I think you will agree with me there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the big thing is to be a good goaltender in the NHL. I think half the battle, in my opinion at least, is having a good decor. You know what I mean? But obviously that varies by goaltender and goaltender. But yeah, Jonas Korpisalo has shown that he can have decent numbers behind a decent team. And I feel like if you just take some of the workload off of him, plus everybody talks about in Boston, goalie Bob. We have a goalie coach, and I guess his nickname's Goalie Bob, and he kind of turns goaltenders into superstars. So go get a Vezina, Corpy. I don't know, might as well. I don't know, but I'm fine with the deal. I like it. It's just now we need to go get the number one guy because we have the backup. Now you need to lock up the number one guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I guess we'll transition to that now. Jeremy Swayman is not signed to a contract. It is August 27th at the time of recording of this podcast. knowing our luck, before this episode drops on Thursday the 29th, he will sign a contract. But at least as of right now, all we really know is that the talks are ongoing. It doesn't look like they're close, at least as of the time of recording of this show. There were rumors from a Boston podcast that Swayman wanted $10 million. I don't particularly believe that. A lot of people are saying it's a load of shit. But, Marcus, when that came out and the overall situation around Swayman right now, are you worried at this point? Are you hitting the panic button? Or are you kind of like, there's a few weeks left and we think we'll get him signed?
So, Swayman has only said good things about wanting to be back in Boston. And I keep trying to tell people that, remember, when it comes to like figuring out a contract, these NHL players are human beings too. Swayman, without a doubt, like any other NHL player, when they fall in love with the city, they want to stay in that city forever and like build a family there. That's what NHL guys do. They want to build a family. They want to have stability financially, and they want to be able to have a house, raise their kids, Swayman, rightfully so, deserves that. He is the number one guy here. He has played lights out of his mind, especially in the playoffs. I look at it from a perspective of what's his agent thinking. You know what I mean? Because agents are definitely an overlooked part of, like, when we look at a player. Like, oh, Swayman wants $10 million. What about his agent? You know what I mean? What does his agent want? I don't think we know enough. It's just more like rumors and whatnot. Obviously, there's $8.6 million left in cap space. Obviously, he's going to want like all that, but then there's ramifications to it. What if the Bruins need a little dough on the side to, make a professional tryout signing? You know what I mean? That's a huge thing. And what if Swayman wants a lot of money because he knows the market's going to rise? There's a lot of ramifications to it, and in my opinion, there's not enough information about it to really, just like have an opinion and be like, Swayman, why are you trying to take money? Or just say like, what are the Bruins doing? I can't really have like a drastic opinion on either side. All I know is, like you said, they're talking, which is better than nothing. They got by arbitration. That's good enough for me to say, okay, this is the right direction. Because if they didn't, then we'd get to UFA in 2027 and he would want like 13. God forbid. I don't even know. I just want what's best for both sides, in my opinion. That's me.
I don't think he gets $10 million.
I don't think so.
It would be wild if a goalie was asking for that, especially Swayman.
You know what I was saying? Do you know what I was saying, actually? I literally made a video about this today. I don't know if you saw it.
You did, I saw it.
We don't have the cap space to do it. We'd have to put somebody on injured reserve. We'd have to go Vegas. You know what I mean?
Or trade someone. Like,
we don't really want to do that. We could just, you know what I mean? There's just a lot to it. But I remember making a post about this, actually. It was Swayman's agent, Louis Gross, his highest paid contracts, and I'll just read some of these to you. The top five are as follows. William Nylander, he's making $92 million across whatever amount of years. And this is total contract. Johnny Gaudreau, I think $68 million or something like that. I somehow had this pulled up. Torrey Krug, $45.5. Rasmus Sandin, $23 million. Brandon Saad, $22.5. And even then, Ross Colton and Alex Iafallo both making $16 million. So Gross likes to get his guys paid. Just saying. It's nothing new when I looked at this. Thank you, Puckpedia, for the information on the agent. You know what I mean? That's what I love about Puckpedia. It's no cap friendly, but they give you the agent side of things, so I like it. But
yeah, that's awesome.
You notice the trend, Evan, that these guys are certainly getting their dough. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I don't blame Swayman for waiting out like this, but I think it will be resolved. I think it's going to be resolved probably within the next, honestly, week or two. I think that's when we're gonna know. Again, we can know tomorrow.
I feel like by training camp, Swayman's going to be suited up. He's going to be on ice practicing, and we'll have a contract announcement by then. There you go.
Yeah, so like my friends like LeBlanc and Max and all them were talking in the group chat of like, oh, how long like will an RFA stay until they can't play? It's like December. I'm like, when was the last time an restricted free agent lasted until December 1st without getting a contract? I can't even name you a single person. I see you thinking right now. I don't think there has been a time.
Why do I feel like I think I might have read something that like Eric Lindros maybe, I don't even know, but like
that's probably that's probably the only
that's a crazy
only
poll, but
example.
like is it? Hold on.
And that was like what, like 30 years ago at this point? Like that rarely ever happens. They will eventually come to an agreement, or a team or a player will eventually just cave in and go to the money. That's why like with people panicking about Jarvis and Perfetti and Raymond and stuff, like I'm not worried. I wouldn't be worried at all. I know none of them are my team, but I'm not worried at all.
No, but you just said Perfetti, Raymond, who else?
Sider, Jarvis.
Sider and Jarvis. All great players. All who deserve to get paid. I don't hear any jack squat about them. I didn't even know that until now.
Yeah.
Are you seriously? Of course. We're only complaining about everyone's only complaining about Swayman. Moritz Sider, one of the better defensemen in the NHL, does not have a contract. And we're talking about seriously? I'm appalled, man. That is nuts.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the Boston. I know. Well, they have been talking about it, but like obviously Swayman's had the spotlight the last couple of weeks,
right?
Because I would say that like but like Detroit has two of them. Like they have two guys to sign, and everyone's so worried about Boston.
Yzerplan, hello.
All right, I have this question for you, and it's completely off topic, completely unrelated to the Bruins. But
that's right.
Would you be against? Let's say the Bruins had like $15 million in cap space, and they had the picks to do it. Would you offer sheet both Raymond and Sider to like $9 million deals for 1 year?
Oh wow!
You would put Detroit in like a must choose, because like if like they have 16 mil right now in cap, but if you offer sheet them to at least one of them to more than that, they only can choose one. So would you do that, and who would you choose?
Timeout. So hold on, wait. So Raymond or Sider, if the Bruins had 15 million and you said we have the picks to do it.
Yes.
And we're completely discluding the Swayman stuff. Let's
just say Swayman signed.
Okay. I like this.
Signed right now.
I like this a lot. If I had to choose, I'd probably say Lucas Raymond. Because, and I'll give you the reason why. Moritz Sider, amazing defenseman. He's class. I love watching him play. But what the Bruins need more than a defenseman is a scoring winger. And what better than a scoring winger with upside? I genuinely wouldn't mind seeing Lucas Raymond in black and gold, and I would love to see him, progress with great players on our roster and in our culture. I feel like I'd rather give him the dough and just, we need a winger. So I'd take him automatically.
I probably would too, but like people are panicking about the Swayman situation. I'd be more worried about Detroit, because you could sign both of these guys to identical deals, I guess, two of them essentially. And Swayman, Swayman's your goaltender, your starting goalie. And I know some Bruins fans are probably worried about that, but I'd be more worried about one of your two future players,
stars,
I would say. And
stars,
Swayman,
for being honest.
Yes.
And the other thing is like Swayman has openly, every single time he's been asked about it, has openly said, I love Boston. I hope it gets done. Kind of not up to me. He's just putting it on like, oh, I hope the deal gets figured out. Like he went past arbitration, like unlike last year, and he was fully mad about that. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe it is. You're right. It's just a Boston thing. But yeah, Yzerman, you gotta figure that out, dude. I would be, peeing my pants about that if I was a GM. I'd be like, oh my God, what the hell? But
I'd be definitely a little more worried about that than Swayman, at least as of right now.
It's a Boston thing, Evan.
It is.
You see how much Bleacher Report posts like Bruins related things like, oh, Jeremy Swayman and Lena Solmark are at a wedding. Patrice Bergeron's doing this. I'm like, he's not even in the league anymore. It's the media presence we get. That's why.
It is. And it's got to be Bartner. Bartner's got to be facilitating this, trying to piss you
He's
off.
doing it. You know what he is? He's doing it to piss me off. He'll text me and he'll be like, what's going on with Swayman? I'm like, it's fine. I don't know. And he's like, you're not worried at all? I'm like, no, I'm worried. Of course I am. But, like, he's definitely doing it to bust my balls, man. I swear.
Oh, he is. I mean, that man was just on a cruise ship the other day, probably getting hammered. So
the both of us actually this summer went on a cruise, which was funny. We were like both texting each other, and he's like, "Oh my god, you're on a cruise?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "I'm going on one." I was like, "No way!" So
that's
crazy.
awesome.
So
all right, so continuing on here, let's talk about Jake DeBrusk. So DeBrusk was one of those people who requested a trade a couple of times that he came out of the report, multiple times apparently, and Boston ended up not trading him, and instead he left in free agency. When you heard that, I mean, we knew that there was a trade rumor out there that he wanted to leave at some point, but like, what were your thoughts on that when that report came out and when he left to Vancouver?
So I don't think I was as surprised as I thought I would be if he was going to leave. Had I hoped he would stay, kinda, but the big thing with, Bruins fans was how much money does he want and how much term does he want? Because a big thing is like, Bruins fans have always called him streaky, especially this past year. Because when he's on one, man, he's unstoppable. He's an amazing scorer. At the same time, there were cold spells, and that really, tweaked Bruins fans the wrong way about, do we bring him back for the long term? Now, I'm not going to lie to you. He's one of our better scorers in the 2020s. He's one of the he's like top 5 in like our scoring, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of that, was I ready to give him long term based on the streakiness? Not really, but I will say I wasn't as surprised, but Vancouver, man, they did a good job locking him up. I guess he's closer to home, you know what I mean? Good for him. There was a lot of, I want to say bad blood, but it was just like uncertainty with him and the Bruins, especially like when I think it was back in 2021, he was up for renegotiation and there were rumors we were going to trade him to Edmonton, and then we re-signed him to like that 2x4, and there was this whole, I don't know, it just never seemed like it was going to be like a surefire thing that he was going to be a long-term Bruin, which I wish it would have been, but the vibe was always like, we always might trade him. He was always included in some sort of trade package in an article, you know what I mean? I wish it would have worked better because he's had some great moments as a Bruin. He's been a great playoff performer, scored in big moments. But hey, good luck in Vancouver, Jake. Wishing you the best, man.
Yeah, the whole situation just seems a little bit weird, to be honest with me, but hopefully he does do well with Vancouver. 2 more questions here for you before we wrap things up. So amongst the young guys currently in this Bruins lineup, Matthew Poitras, Justin Brazeau, Johnny Beecher, Merkulov, I even see on this list,
Yeah.
Liesel, Laraï. Who would you say would take a huge step this year? I know some of those guys haven't really played in the NHL, like Liesel hasn't yet. Merkulov, I think he might have come up for a few games, but regardless, who would you say of those is taking the biggest step? If I had to go with one, I'd say Laraï, but who do you think?
Jeez, you're putting me on the spot here because, in my opinion, I love every single one of those young guys because it sticks it to anyone who said we had a terrible prospect pool with those guys in it, because last year we saw Laraï, Beecher, and Patra. I said Poitras, I guess it's Patra. Call it how you want. They all carved out their own roles in the lineup, and they were efficient in them, right? I see to your point with Laraï because, like, he's up for renegotiation this year, and, man, in the playoffs when he was with McAvoy, he was awesome. Mm-hmm. When I look at the Bruins D-core and I look at how Montgomery likes to shift his lines, if you will, with the addition of Zadorov, where does Laraï fit in? Because, yeah, you could put him on the third pair, but I also see Andrew Peeke and Parker Wotherspoon. Now, those guys aren't exactly household names, but at the same time, they do work really decently well on that third pair. They are used to each other, and that's based on my eye test and it's some advanced analytics, which do definitely help back it up. They play well together. So do you want to shift in Lowry and kind of mix that up, right? Because the top four is surefire, in my opinion, going to be McAvoy, Zadorov, Carlo, and Lindholm, or a mix of them in some way. Lowry, his best opportunity is either shifting up there with McAvoy or going down. You know what I mean? I'd like to see him pop off. You know what I mean? Because he's a lengthy player. He's very good at skating. His transition game is awesome, and the offensive upside is amazing. In my opinion, though, I'd have to say someone who I really enjoyed watching last year that I think could carve out a good middle six role and take a step is John Beecher. His defensive game is sound. He's decent on faceoffs. He's great along the wings. I don't really have any statistics or anything to back this up, but I did like watching him play. He's a good system player that I think will fit within what the Bruins try to do, and I hope he just gets better. You could say Lysell or Merkulov, but those two are just going to battle for that second line right wing spot. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
There's uncertainty there, though, I have to say, because we're now coming into the year where Lysell's, because he was drafted in 2021. This is now his fourth year of pro hockey. It's now like make or break for him. But I look at someone as a safer option like John Beecher. I'm like, you could really, mold your own role. And I really liked the way he played. It was fundamental at best. So
Yeah, this has got to be the year for Lysell. I've seen him play a few times in Providence because they'll go and play Lehigh Valley, and I've been to a few of those games.
Those
I don't know. Yeah, they are fun. He kind of just, I don't know. He just seems like he's not like that exciting out there, to be honest.
Well,
I like Merkulov a lot more.
Well, Merkulov's a point getter. I want to see more of him. The thing is with Lysell is there's uncertainty because can he play within the Bruins system, if you will? There was a big debate that he wasn't he would take the puck in and try and make a move on his own and not make the simple pass that would start the play in the offensive zone. There was talks about that. He was called out by the Providence Bruin coach. He's a point getter and he's got skill, but I need to see it at the NHL level. I'm tired of the waiting and the anticipation. I need to see it. You know what I mean? What do you got? Because he's just been sitting in Providence for a bit and sitting playing with Vancouver. I know you can score and whatnot, but Fabian, I want to see you do it at the NHL level. Get some points on the board, baby. Pop off. Do your thing. I want to see it. So,
Me too. I've always liked him, even though I said he's kind of when I see him in Providence. One last question here for you, involving the Bruins. What are your overall expectations this year? A more broad question. Do you see them getting first in the division? Do you see them going on a playoff run? Where do you stand here?
So we all know the Bruins are going to fully steamroll the regular season like they usually do. We know that's going to happen. I hope. Let's not jinx anything. Knock on wood. So we know they're a playoff probable team. Now, once you get there, you got to get past the second round. That's the thing for me. I want to at least see a conference final appearance out of this team. Am I shooting for the stars a bit? You don't know, really. People have doubted this team before, and especially last year, people doubted us, and look at what we did even then the year before, right? But I haven't seen us make it past the second round since 2019. You know what I mean? And that year we went to the Cup final. It was great. I want to see more playoff hockey. And, if Elias Lindholm and Nikita Zadorov can play up to expectation or maybe even above it, shoot, you're looking at a pretty good Bruins team that I hope can make a dent. You know what I mean? I feel like this team is faster. I feel like they definitely got bigger, but now you got to execute that. We know you can play regular season hockey. Everybody knows the Bruins can do that. But can you get over the hump of the second round? Can you get past the Florida Panthers? We know you can get past Toronto. Sorry, Toronto. Can you get past the Florida Panthers is the biggest thing, because we know there's still going to be a foe. We didn't
even talk about the Toronto series at all. I actually completely skipped over that.
That was so long ago, man. But that was magical. It was a magical series, man. That was awesome.
Yeah. With all the Swayman stuff, it seems like it was a lifetime ago,
I know, right?
Yeah, I definitely do think, again, they're a great regular season team. They will be top 3 in that division for sure. It's just a matter of, can they get over that hump? And I think with some of the new ads, I think it's definitely possible that some of the young guys pan out the way that you want them to. I think this team can definitely do some damage in the future. All right. So when we post this, it will be on Thursday the 29th, 1 week away from the first NFL game.
Really?
My podcast, I believe right after we get done this interview with you, we're going to do our football predictions because this is going to go into the episode. But what would you, I don't know if you're like too into football, but like, what would be your Super Bowl prediction for this year?
Shoot. Honestly, this year, just going off the top of my head, I kind of want to go Chiefs versus Lions. And I would probably say, say the Chiefs would win it. That's a boring pick, but I mean, Kansas City just took Juju Smith-Schuster from us when we released him. So they just bolstered their wide receiver core there. But Detroit, man, they're a team of destiny. I feel like they could really, get over the hump and make a real, run to win a Super Bowl. I love watching like Dan Campbell's like inspirational stuff. And even then, Amon-Ra St. Brown's like one of my favorite like players in the league just because of like his work ethic. Not only that, but I don't know if you knew this, but he could speak German.
Really?
I don't know if you watch Receiver on Netflix, he's like fully speaking German because his mom's like German, I guess. And his father used to do like lifting competitions in Germany. It's like Receiver's super cool. Speaking of which, you know how they're doing the NHL series, right? The NHL thing. When is that coming out? I'm so excited for that.
Oof.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I do know what you're talking about. If you give me a second,
I'm giving you all
it's on Amazon Prime, right?
I think so. Thank God I have it.
Okay,
God.
so so they talked about it. I think, if I remember, it's supposed to come out sometime in October?
Why, dude? Can they make it come out now? I need hockey.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm looking at like the articles right now. It does show like they have McDavid, Kachuk, Trouba, Draisaitl, Pasternak, Swayman in here. So a lot of exciting names.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see when it comes out.
Yeah, I don't think they set a release date. I don't know.
They might not have, but I do think it's supposed to come out sometime soon because I remember hearing about it in June.
I need it, but not to get off like your NFL question, but I'd probably say like the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They're gonna steamroll everybody, and I really did like Detroit as well this season. They're young. They're only getting better.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Detroit this year. They were actually very entertaining last year. Campbell and his speeches were honestly terrific. Even seeing like the Ravens last year with the Black Hole Sun TikTok trend that was going on with Lamar Jackson. Oh my God.
That was me with the Panthers all year.
Oh yes, man. That time, that was a great time.
What do you think?
Marcus,
hold on. What do you think of the Eagles? I need to know your opinion on that.
Dude.
Before you hop me off, I need to know.
I like them bringing in Saquon Barkley. I like that ad, but I don't really know. I really don't know what they're gonna do. I think they'll be good in the regular season again, I guess.
But you guys, the thing is like the big loss for me is Jason Kelce. Like I fully thought he was gonna play like one more farewell season, and I think that fully ruins the tush push. And ESPN is fully going at Jalen Hurts every morning about like what he can do, and I'm just trying to think. Oh my God, I'm talking to Evan tonight. I got to get an Eagles fan perspective on what he thinks,
Yeah, I have no idea. Last year when, they were like 10-1 by Christmas, I was like, oh, maybe they'll do something. And then they started losing. And I'm like, all right, first round exits, here we go. And what do you know what happened? So I don't know. They gotta just keep that consistency, I guess.
Hey, look out for I think they got Jahan Dotson from the Washington Commanders. I think they traded for him. So your wide receivers you got wide receivers. Yeah. Hurts should be flinging it.
Yeah, they could be exciting. I don't know. Where's the Super Bowl this year, and does the logo have green in it? Because if that's the case, then we'll be in the Super Bowl.
I don't even know, but I think it does have green in it. It's Super Bowl.
Oh my God, there is green in
There's
it.
green in it. It's
Oh
red
my
and green,
God.
right? I know this.
Yeah, it's like a light green. Oh, it's red too. That means we're gonna face the Chiefs.
Chiefs
again, of
Eagles.
course.
It's Chiefs Eagles.
Oh, here
That's
we go.
confirming it right now.
It's in
Chiefs.
Louisiana this year.
It is?
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, it's going in the Caesar Superdome. That's for sure.
Yes. All right. Well, Marcus, it has been a blast this last hour. Do you have anything you want to plug? Anything you want to promote? Anyone you want to shout out?
Well, you first talked. I didn't expect you to ask me about Merrimack. Most people talk about Bruins with me. I appreciate you talking about that with me. You can follow me at Antonelli7 Jr. on Twitter or X. That's where I cover Merrimack. But if you want to do the Bruins stuff, at Marcussi @Marcussi._ or just type in Marcussi, you'll find me on Instagram, TikTok. That's usually where I post. But if you want some of the college hockey coverage, you can find me at Antonelli7 Jr. ANTONELLI 7 Jr. for the college hockey stuff.
Well, yeah, I actually saw you on Checking from Behind, and that's what kind of got me I think I actually messaged you before that, but it got me the idea. I'm like, ooh, maybe I should bring Marcus onto the show, because we were thinking about guests for the summer, and I wrote you down on my list, and thankfully I snagged you in before the end of this. I guess summer's already over for a lot.
It's all right. Cool. It's great. I love what you're doing. I'm glad you're doing it. I just wanted to meet the kid who said that Stellars was like a top 5 player.
Oh man,
that was funny, and I wanted to talk to him about that for a bit, but I guess we didn't get a chance to do that. But it's okay. You can tell him I said
you can give a little shout out here. He'll listen to this for sure.
Shout out to him.
Shout out to the Northern. Shout out to the Nord and Mark podcast, too. We didn't even really talk about that much. Our 6-episode podcast that when we uploaded our first episode, it was during the second round of the 2021 playoffs.
What?
Man, what a time that was.
It was?
A long time ago,
God. That I feel like during the offseason, I said something about I made a Jack Eichel prediction. Did I say he was going to Vegas? Or I'm just like trying to think. We did talk about Jack Eichel.
You probably did. I'm looking at like my stuff. You probably did.
We talked. I just remember vividly. We were just talking about Jack Eichel. Oh my God, man!
You remember we brought on Selly Center too?
Yes, dude. Can I just say this? Thinking about it, like back when we were talking about this stuff, and just like the little Jack Eichel plug. People say the NHL doesn't have as much player movement as like the NBA or the NFL. It fully does. Go back 2 years. There are so many different players at different teams. I don't want to hear that stuff anymore.
Oh, yeah.
NHL's
You go back 2 years ago, yeah, exactly.
Just market it because it works. Market the individuality. Stamkos, going to Nashville, put that on a poster, please. I miss Stamkos in the Lightning, but you know.
Yeah, me too, kind of. That's like, honestly, that's a whole other can of worms that we could open. Like the NHL, like they have stars, they have players, they do such a terrible job at marketing, and it's really upset. A lot of it, and I listen to all these other podcasts, it just makes me get pissed off at Gary Bettman because I want to blame him. I don't know if it's entirely his fault, but
I will say Bettman has done a lot of positive for the sport, and look at what he did with the Sphere.
Oh no, he has. I'm not gonna say he has. He definitely has.
The Sphere fully gives him like plus 1,000 aura at least for doing that. At least plus 1,000. We're giving it.
Absolutely.
So, you know,
who would you say has the most aura on the Boston Bruins right now? One last question.
The most aura. It's either Swayman or Pasternak. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It's either one of those two. Pasternak for his style, but. I don't know, just something about Swayman, man. He just like they just admit it. They give it off. You know what? This is an idea. There's probably going to be a top 10 Bruins aura soon. Maybe. I don't know.
I love
that. Aura. I might just plug Evan right in there just to be like, you know what? Evan gave this idea. Top 10 Bruins with the most aura. We're making it next.
I mean, it's the most off-season post you could do.
That is so off-season to me. But yeah, no, Swayman
I
or
love that.
Allmark. Jesus.
I love that. All right, Marcus. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We could go on for forever. We could talk about so much
You
stuff,
really
to be
could,
honest with
dude.
you.
This is nuts,
Yeah.
man. I love this.
We could keep going, honestly.
But
Thank you so much for coming on, and we will be going back to the NordCast regularly scheduled program. I think we're doing our NFL stuff. Not 100% sure, but here you go. We'll be back. Thank you so much for Marcussi or Marcus for joining us on this episode of the NordCast. We've been trying to get him on for a while. He's a great guy, terrific talker, big into college hockey. Well, today we're going to talk about some college football and some NFL football. We're going to be doing our NFL and college football predictions. So let's just get straight into it. So we did one's for MLB, which I guess at the end of this, we can actually take a look at those and see how those are doing. We did it for March Madness too previously. We did our way too early cup predictions, but now we're going to do some NFL stuff and some college football. So I'm going to let these two guys go first while I cook up my top two here. So I'm going to let Carter take the lead here, and he's got a smile on his face, so I'm a little bit scared.
I'm just excited because you have to cook up college football, a sport you know nothing about. But
yeah, exactly.
anyways, let's get into it. All right, so my two teams that I got playing in the Natty is going to be also the two Heisman finalists. So I got Alabama versus Oregon in the Natty. And then my national champions is going to be my Oregon Ducks.
Oh, buddy.
So I'm speaking it into existence. I don't like saying that because every single time it always backfires. But, bro, if we don't win this year...
Are they number 3 preseason?
Right now, yeah. So that's who I'm rocking with. Jack's going to take Illinois State.
Yeah, that's what he was saying to us.
I will not be taking Illinois State.
What do you got, Jack?
So, the Iowa Hawkeyes are ranked number 25 right now.
Do it. Don't do it.
I say we like I go to Iowa. I'm an Iowa fan. My family are Iowa fans, so I'm an Iowa fan. We will lose one game all year, 11-1 regular season. The one game will be against Ohio State. That's the only game we'll lose all year.
Jack,
we go on a run. Make
Jack,
the top 12.
Jack.
Iowa Hawkeyes national championship over the Texas Longhorns.
Oh my gosh. So Ohio over Texas. Carter just left. Carter,
Iowa will lose to Ohio State. That will be the only loss, regular season loss. We play Ohio State in the regular season at their place.
Wait, so you have Iowa beating Texas? I'm writing this down a little more.
Yeah, Iowa beats Texas.
Carter, you have your camera turned off. I want to know, like, do you agree with this or no?
Oh my gosh,
it's obviously biased.
It's heavily biased, but at the same time, like I'm looking at your schedule, like your only tough ranked matchup is Ohio State. I mean, I guess you got to play Washington too.
Yeah,
there's
Washington
a few good teams that you got to play, but Washington, I think, is a little bit worse. But I don't see you guys going 11-1. I'm gonna shoot it 2 straight.
You don't have to.
I'd set your ceiling at 10. I think realistic would be 9. I think you could, if you beat Ohio State, I think no matter what, you should end up making it. Yeah. But the chances of you beating Ohio State are 0.
Ohio State will beat Michigan this year. I'm confident.
100%. 100%.
Okay. All right. Well, it's time for the guy who knows nothing to give his. So I literally just looked at college betting odds.
Oh God, Nordic just took Colorado to win the Natty.
No, I did not take
the Sanders.
I didn't take Georgia either. I know I said Georgia in the last episode, and I was like, yeah, Georgia's gonna 2-peat. But that Carter gave me some advice and said that never happens.
What do you mean they did 2-peat?
Did they?
Yeah, you said Michigan's supposed to 2-peat.
Said Georgia's the only one that could 2-peat. Is what you? I don't. Anyways, all right. I don't have a good memory at all. All right. I have Texas winning it over Ohio State. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
What do you guys think? Is that the worst you've seen?
No, that's not bad.
Okay. Great.
It's solid.
All right. NFL time. Carter, what we got?
I gotta go.
Yeah, you're first up.
Oh my God. I really don't want to be biased, but this is gonna just kill me inside. All right. I got out of the AFC. I got the Baltimore Ravens making it out. I think last year that sucked for them, and but I don't see it happening again.
Black Hole Sun. You see that TikTok trend, Black Hole Sun from Lamar Jackson during the finals, or not the finals, the NFC Championship.
What?
Okay, you clearly haven't been on You're not on American TikTok.
I don't know what Black Hole Sun is. What are you talking
Black
about?
Hole Sun. It's like a song. All right.
I'll have to look this up later. I'm uncultured. I'm Canadian. Don't hold it against me here. I get the Ravens facing the Eagles. And I got the Eagles taking it all.
Carter, get this. That's my prediction too.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Same
sir.
one?
All right,
Yeah.
I know Jack's going to be the complete opposite of us. Jack, what's yours?
I have the
Chicago
Ravens
Bears.
out of the AFC. Yeah, you know what? Philly and Chicago in that NFC championship.
That'd be so much fun. I would love that.
Families.
I would love that.
That would be so fun.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but give me the Bears over the Ravens Super Bowl.
I'm just kidding. I mean,
That's
I
not
am,
as bad
but
as taking Iowa.
yeah. You know what, Jack? Here's the thing. Jack's biasy has not faded one bit, and
No.
I would like to say, I'm proud of you for not listening to the haters of your biasy.
Right.
Me being
One time it's gonna pay off. One of these times it will.
that's yeah, but Jack, that's what I've said the last 2 years, and look how it's panned out.
I'm just so optimistic. I'm the most optimistic sports fan you'll ever meet.
Oh, until it comes to the Cubs.
I'm negative as hell when it comes to the Cubs.
Yeah, let's take a look at that. So, I brought up our MLB predictions from March, late March. So I'll start off with Jack. He has the Cubs over the Orioles in the World Series.
Okay, well, Orioles.
The Orioles one's good. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, the Orioles one's good because they're second in the ALE right now. In the Cubs, they're second, but they're only 2 games above 500. They're red hot right now, though. They're looking pretty
They are.
damn good.
They've been winning ball games. Yep.
Yeah. And
my prediction sucks.
That division looks mid as hell. I can't lie. Mine's bad too, Carter. Don't worry. Carter has the Phillies over the Rangers. The Phillies they're good. They're
But the
struggling.
Rangers suck. Oh my God, they're horrible.
Yeah, the Rangers are terrible this year. It shows that like last year was a fluke, apparently.
Yeah, it's very surprising to me. If a team wins a World Series, they usually start off like hot, like just like that.
Yeah, they're usually at least decent. There's
There's never been back-to-back winners in the MLB though. Never back-to-back.
No, it's probably.
Like, damn. Like, how are you?
I don't know. I don't follow baseball enough.
Yeah, I don't either.
They weren't even that good in the regular season. They snuck into playoffs and just got red hot last year.
Oh, so they're like Florida in 2023.
They're like Florida.
Oh, why didn't you tell me that beforehand, Jack? What the fuck?
Well, I mean, they still have a good roster.
Yeah, what the hell? We both like the Rangers. I have the Dodgers winning the World Series.
Okay.
I actually, that's not that bad of a prediction. They have the same amount of wins as the Phillies, so I think that's looking solid.
Dodgers, Phillies, NLCS.
Yeah, overall, we're looking pretty brutal right now with our MLB takes. We'll definitely do one closer to the playoffs for sure. Y'all remember our NBA predictions? I guess we take a look at those too, because why not?
No, I just care.
Yeah, I was so close.
Oh, these are horrible.
Oh,
Not
yeah,
for me.
And then
I was so close.
You and Jack had the Mavericks.
Yeah, but then Jack switched up to OKC like a bum.
Did he
Yeah, I
actually?
did.
Yeah.
I had OKC too. Bro. I had OKC too, and I got Will Stepp in the comments calling me a joke, which he's probably right.
Yeah. You don't know ball.
I don't know ball. You're right.
You don't know ball.
Well, I literally only did it because of Josh Giddey, and now I'm going to be a big Chicago.
He's a Chicago
fan.
Bull.
Yeah, I'm a big Chicago Bulls fan now, even though like they're the epitome of mid.
He went off in the Olympics though.
That's the Olympics.
It's the NBA comp in there.
Isn't he American? Doesn't he play like LeBron? I feel like I would go off if I played with LeBron.
He's Australian. He's not American.
He's on Australia, yeah.
Never mind, guys. All right. I know nothing about basketball.
You know
I'm
nothing
gonna
about any sport that's not hockey.
You're correct. I'm going to end the episode before I say something really stupid. A few more things to talk about. This is the last episode of the 2024 offseason for the podcast. By the time we do one next week, we will be doing our Eastern Conference previewing every single team, talking about the conference as a whole. We won't do standings. We're going to do that in a separate episode. But the next 2 weeks are going to be dedicated to the East and West previews. So still some very fun hockey talk coming up ahead. Hopefully we're going to get Bartner on at some point in September as well to give some hot takes and talk about standings and players and all that good stuff. So a lot's coming here for the NordCast. A few more things will be announced before the end of the offseason. I do have something that I'm going to be announcing within the next couple of days in regards to certain stuff. You'll see. But anyways, that'll do it for episode number 69 of the NordCast. Carter, any final thoughts?
Dog days are almost done.
Jack, any final thoughts?
Dog days are almost done.
Nice.
All right.
Nordic, any final thoughts?
Bear down.
Okay, you're not Nordic.
All right, we're done here. All right, that concludes this episode of the NordCast. Thank you all for watching and listening. If you're watching on the YouTube end of things, give us a good review. Tell your friends to subscribe down below if you're new. If you are watching on the audio end of things, that being Spotify or Apple Podcasts, give us a good review and tell your friends, and be sure to follow if you're on Spotify. If you want to follow the NordCast Instagram, follow at NordCast_. These college football and NFL predictions will be going on the Instagram soon. If you want to follow the NordCast TikTok, follow at NordCast. If you want to follow the NordCast Twitter, follow at NordCast_. I'm Nordic. That's Carter. That's Jack. Thanks for watching and listening to another episode of the pod, and we will see you in the next episode. Adios.